We're going to call the meeting to order.
And then
Shall we read the subject?
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, July 18, 2023. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the meeting notice which was posted on the bulletin board filed with the Borough Clerk and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Star Ledger.
Thank you. Will you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Demarest.
Present.
Councilmember Riley. Here. Councilmember Vecchio.
Here.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Here.
Councilmember McNamara.
Here.
Council President Davidson.
Here.
And Mayor Aranio.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like everybody to remain standing. Today we actually lost Council Member Anthony Cavallo from Union Beach. He was not only a council member, he was a friend to many of us in Keyport, and he was also a personal friend of myself. So I'd like to, our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go right into committee reports. Councilmember Demarest.
Yes, the KBBC, I'd like to thank the mayor and anybody that participated this past weekend in the extreme heat and halfway to Mardi Gras. What a success it was. I wasn't there, but I saw a lot of video of it, film of it, and I really appreciate that going on in the town of Keyport. So thank you, and thank you everybody that participated. There's some things that are going on in the KBBC. Once they're straightened out, you will know. And the same thing with DPW. There's a few things going on there. We're down to some final people. Once we figure out exactly what needs to be done there, we'll go. But let me explain to you about DPW. Let me explain to you about it. Because I wasn't here last meeting, as you're all aware. DPW, again, as I told you before, is water and sewer. That's what it is. And the aesthetics of the town. The aesthetics of the town, that's what DPW is. And I drove around this town numerous times with people from the DPW to check this town out and see exactly what needs to be done to improve it, to improve the lookings of this town. So DPW is going to be in good shape. It is in good shape and will continue to be in good shape, and that will continue to happen. And once we know what the pecking order is going to be, from top to bottom, you will know here as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley.
Thank you, Mayor. For the Environmental Commission, Ken DeGroot is stepping down as president of the Environmental Commission, and Joe Sheridan has happily accepted the position. Since Mr. Sheridan is the current secretary, this will maintain continuity within the Environmental Commission. Keyport First Aid has had 714 runs to date. They have supported 13 surrounding municipalities as well as our own borough. The Keyport Fire Department has responded to 190 calls. The volunteers of this town are truly remarkable. They do a tremendous job and are greatly appreciated. The new chief's car, which replaces the car that was totaled in an accident last year, has been put into service, and we're awaiting results of mandatory testing. That information will be relayed once it is received. And a side note, multiple residents have approached me to compliment our business administrator. They've been very appreciative of Ms. Humphrey's responsiveness and helpfulness with a variety of issues. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vecchio.
Thank you, Mayor. For the police, the Keyport Police Department is currently recruiting volunteers to serve on the Keyport Domestic Violence Response Team. 180 volunteer DVRT advocates are civilian members of the community who work collaboratively with law enforcement to provide support, information, and resources to victims of domestic violence at police headquarters. Advocates also discuss with victims safety planning and their legal rights in regards to obtaining a temporary restraining order. By providing support and crucial perspective of the situation, these specially trained advocates help to empower victims to make informed decisions for themselves and also their families. Requirements include that you must be 18 years of age, willing to serve on an on-call shift basis, partake in an interview process that includes a background check and fingerprinting, attend monthly supervisory meetings, have a valid driver's license and access to transportation, and completion of a 40-hour training. The deadline to apply is September 18th. The recent speed study has been completed and those details are currently being analyzed. And just a brief reminder that it is illegal to block sidewalks with vehicles and to please be mindful of parking in town. For our Harbor Commission, just a reminder that the Snapper Contest will be Saturday, September 16th this year. With just 2 months to go, the donation letters are being finalized and sent out, as well as all other aspects of the contest that are being worked on. Unfortunately, dredging is still being looked into, but we hope to have a resolution to that soon. And the beach has been raked twice so far, and it is looking much better. For Municipal Alliance, our meeting was canceled this past month, but on that front, I just wanted to relay that International Overdose Awareness Day is a global event held annually on August 31st. It aims to raise awareness of overdose and to reduce the stigma of a drug-related death. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pepperoni?
Madam Treasurer's report, intake was $1,620 for Keyport for Union Beach. For that. For rec, for the 5K, they're just about to have the new, you know, what do you call it? The new route certified. So that'll be done, I think, in the next week or so. And that'll also be certified for the next 10 years. What else? So far we have 58 people signed up for that. So if you want to do the 5K, there's a discount for if you sign up early for that. Other than that, that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilmember McNamara?
Thank you. I'll start with cannabis. I participated in the New Jersey CRC Municipal Town Hall call on July 12th. The CRC provided an overview on the process, covering which parts of the process fall on their domain and which pieces like zoning, regulations, number of businesses, hours, taxes, and updating ordinances are covered through municipal authorities. A significant portion of the presentation focused on the resources available to businesses trying to enter the field. I have reached out to the CRC and another Monmouth County municipality to follow up on any resources, tools, tracking of municipal experiences that are available that might be helpful to us. Updates on litigation. As of a few days ago, the judge had not issued a decision on the one case, and the other case has been rescheduled for September 29th. NPP is funded in the state for year 4. Year 3 revised implementation plan has been approved. The T-Mobile grant was submitted to support mini park improvements for coordination with NPP funding, and that determination is due by early September. No updates yet on the NPP ARP grant. That's the one that we would hope to use for the playground equipment at Beach Park. All NPP DCA reporting was completed before the July 15th deadline, and all monthly DCA NPP statewide meetings have been canceled and will be rescheduled in the fall. Finance and grants. As you know, the budget was passed on July 5th. Update on the state side, Governor Murphy's plan to dedicate $200 million from federal pandemic relief funds to offset the over 20% rising health insurance premium rise did not secure a place in the fiscal year 2024 budget. This plan was initially laid out in the budget speech, and the rate increase stemmed from a roughly 22% upswing in the state health benefits healthcare premiums this year. CDBG grant application is, there's a resolution tonight. We had the public meeting at the workshop recently, and we are regularly reviewing any information that comes our way for grants that we should consider applying for. An update recently from our VA, the Firehouse Subs grant request has been submitted for American Legion Drive road flooding gate system. We're expecting 3 to 4 months before they announce awards. The initial application was not awarded. And then lastly, Green Team will be reaching out to Save Coastal Wildlife to do a public outreach ongoing program for the next horseshoe crab season and educate our community. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President David.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll be pretty short tonight. The next planning board meeting is going to be Thursday, 7 p.m. here in Chambers. We're having a redevelopment meeting tomorrow, and I'm hoping to have the conversation about the planning board ordinances and procedures on the next workshop meeting for further discussion. That's all for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give you a 6-month update for my report. As your mayor, I decided to give a 6-month update on what challenges that we put before us. I had no idea about some of these. However, these challenges are now accomplishments that we can put behind us or are working on to complete. We have had to work through many of them with our new business administrator, attorney, and professionals, and feel that some of these accomplishments would not have been able to be completed without a team working together. Through countless hours of all of us, I am sure that we will see a light at the end of the tunnel. Though I was on council for 1 year prior to being elected as your mayor, many of the issues encountered myself and other members of the governing body may not have been fully privileged to know the backstory or any issue, so may not have been able to address them. And even if addressed, some of them did not receive responses when addressed. They were found out after a new business administrator was brought on, who pushes them all forward and communicates to myself, the governing body, for the committees or commissions they're on, as well as professionals. I advised all residents that I would always be transparent and will continue that for the next 3.5 years. It's important to give to our residents at least a 6-month update. The DEP contacted us. I met with them along with the business administrator regarding unaddressed violations that had no communication or which could have cost us tens of thousands of dollars in fines. These violations consisted of violations at our DPW yard and water plant. The DPW yard included vehicles that were abandoned or of no use to the borough for many years. They were never removed off our property. Vehicles, barrels, leaking chemicals, hazmat materials that were addressed many times to be removed from the yard. The water plant, an old fallout pipe that was never capped off, but instead was covered with high-grown grass. Building that had electrical wires and part of the roof collapsing that was left in that condition. Our business administrator addressed each concern with the DEP and had all the vehicles sold and was able to bring into the borough over $60,000. She worked with the DPW, had all the barrels and contaminated leaking items removed and disposed of properly, repaired the roof that was collapsing, and had all electrical wires corrected to be in compliance with DEP. Mine is a bit long, so just bear with me. The JIF was not in compliance for 3 years. We also had no risk manager. However, it was identified that we most certainly did need this. We had no updated policies, training, no safety meetings. By appointing and bringing in a new risk manager, they oversaw any neglected issues of the past. They forced us to have all our governing body members, as well as Recreation Department committee members, complete required classes: official risk management, protecting children from abuse, cybersecurity, hazmat. These were just a few of them. These required classes brought us in compliant with the JIF and saved us from incurring a larger premium and deductible, as well as protect ourselves and our committee members. If we did not do this, we could have opened ourselves and the borough to litigation and lawsuits if they were filed. Redevelopment. High-priority Brownsfield sites for more than 3 years have had no communication or follow-up on these properties. The solution is going to be setting up a steering committee to guide the borough on the Brownsfield properties and work with using our prior professionals that were authorized to work on the Brownsfield properties. There's a lot of grant money now open by BDA, or is going to be open, to clean up these environmental sites and start development on them. Our future of Keyport depends on smart redevelopment or development projects, and working with our professionals, we'll be able to move the town forward. Fire hydrants, last year I heard approximately 25% were out of service. We're down to the final 3. I'm working with our borough administrator to continue to have these fire hydrants work done. Monies that were not put in the budget this year for the fire hydrants, we're looking for other ways of having them completed, possibly through grants or finding creative ways to have all fire hydrants working properly. Grants. We almost lost grant funding as they were not executed. One of them being the Recreation Improvement Grant, which is approximately $70,000. Our borough administrator is working closely with our grant writer to ensure there's nothing else missed. Borough Hall and Police Station has been leaking and has gone on and undone for many years. Last year we put in $50,000 in the budget to get the process started. Very little was done, and the majority of the money was put back into the general fund. This year we put in $60,000 again to move this project forward. And our borough administrator has received in quotes and will be discussing with the governing body of how to move forward to get this resolved. We can't go any longer with it this way. Borough Hall HVAC, non-existence, no maintenance was done. The solution, service was called in, the belts and filters were changed out so that our borough employees can also endure an atmosphere of clean, clear air. And also by maintaining the HVAC yearly, it will extend the life of the actual mechanics. Recreation has had no bylaws. Our borough administrator and our attorney will be creating bylaws now, and we hope to present them to the governing body by August for our workshop meeting. Also, looking to explore the option of a recreation director for next year. This will also be one of our workshop discussions for council. The DPW building lease. We have been leasing for many years at a cost of over $7,500 per month. Short term, we at this time are in negotiation to renew the lease. We have exhausted any other alternative of a location to lease. However, long term, we're looking to acquire space that we would not need to lease going forward. Labor Council. Due to the fact that we had numerous disputes unresolved, as well as contracts, personnel matters, personnel policies, employee handbooks, retirement disability matters, separation agreements, ones that should have existed and ones that had to be created, and civil service issues. Prior to me coming in as mayor, we are now having to increase funding to pay for our professional. Personnel policies now updated and compliant for the JIF after 3 years. Our labor attorney has found inconsistencies with contracts and has now addressed them and working through them. Code enforcement. Many properties not addressed, as well as ordinances that were never filed with our court. Being as they're not filed with the court, you can't enforce them. We hired on a second code enforcement person. The borough has been split by 2 of just one, instead of just one to cover the full town. Each have a section of the town they are responsible for. We're also bringing in additional revenue based on non-conforming properties. This is not the reason we did this, as we would rather see the properties maintained, but we can now see that was needed. Any revised ordinance that was not submitted to the court has now been submitted so that our code enforcement officers can now take action. Deputy clerk. We're working without a deputy clerk for almost 2 years. This put a backlog on our municipal clerk, especially with all the Oprah requests that she gets daily. Minutes of our borough council meetings are significantly behind. We interviewed and hired on a deputy clerk who has started. She's working closely with our borough clerk on getting caught up to date, including the minutes of the council meetings. DPW. Previously, we hired on a person to do all the landscaping and expected most of the properties of borough to be done by this one person. We purchased trailer landscaping equipment. It's impossible for one person to take on the full job of all of our properties. This year, we went out for a proposal, landscaping company. This company takes on most of the borough properties, and the balance is now done by our DPW. The borough looks beautiful, and we owe that to both our hired contractor and our DPW staff. Parks, playgrounds, we've been non-ADA and safety compliant for many years. NPP and CME has and will continue to apply for grants to bring our parks and playgrounds up to date and beautify them. We are hoping that by the fourth quarter, some of these projects will be started or completed. Beach Park, Cedar Street Park, Kearney Street Park, Mini Park, with the additional funds given to the borough by the KBBC for the Mini Park. This is for the quality of life for all our residents and visitors to Keyport. Some of these projects have been going on for a couple of years, and now we're going to see it happen. We had no formal capital plan for our future road improvements. Business administrator and engineer have been tasked with preparing a true road plan. These are some of the 6-month issues that we've come up with, and we've had to address and work on these and much more. We had a lot of inherited cleanup in the first 6 months, and I'm sure the next 6 months will be more of the same. However, I'm here to keep striving forward, and I'm sure that our governing body, business administrator, and professionals are also. We have a lot of work to do: waterfront, shore protection, infrastructure, road improvements, and seeking funding to accomplish all of this. I want to thank you for having the confidence in electing me as your mayor, and though we want everything done yesterday, which sometimes is not possible in government, give us time. I can assure you the best is yet to come. Mayor's update. Councilwoman Riley advised about DeGroat actually, he's actually resigned, so we have appointed Joe Sheridan as chairman, and we also appointed Roy Jimenez as a member. Okay, do you have a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody? John?
John Merle, 34 Broad Street. It's just a follow-up. I know these are on agenda items, and this was discussed under reports. Councilmember McNamara, can you elaborate your discussion or your Zoom for the CRC when you said businesses for the cannabis can obtain that they were going to provide some assistance? Is that a business that's already in business, or someone that's looking to get into business?
That's people looking to enter the business and people currently in business. So their Department of Inclusion did a large part of the presentation going over the overarching objectives of the state legalizing cannabis, and they talked about a lot of the grants that are available. But again, you know, a lot of it was targeted towards businesses and their opportunities. And I think part of it was also to make sure that municipalities were aware with some of the things that businesses didn't know. You know, businesses don't know how municipalities are run, what they have to do, what the processes are. So encouraging municipalities to, you know, work through that education process as well.
That's great. Thank you. The other was Council President Davison, you brought up about the planning board ordinances, that some ordinances were going to be reviewed. In your discussion, maybe you want to just bring this up to either the planning board or the planning board attorney. I go to the planning board meetings and I see approvals that are approved by the planning board, which some I support, some I don't. But most of them that are supported, you would assume, if you're sitting in the public, that these are projects where the construction of this development are going to be sold. You know, in my eyes, like the units that are being approved, it looks like they're in a resolution that these units are going to be sold. We have a project right now that was most recently approved on First and Walnut, and this project was listed for sale, and now it's listed for rent. And I have a problem with that because, you know, if we approve all these projects and we assume they're going to be for sale. I know there's no restrictions, but maybe there's a gap in an ordinance or there's some kind of law that can be enacted. If a project comes before the planning board and it's laid out to the planning board members and the planning board members vote on that project, and we assume that these units are going to be sold, since we're a small municipality, we don't have much more room for rentals, let's be honest. And I think the only way we're going to stop that is at the planning board level or the municipal level, where we enact an ordinance that, says that if you're approved for sale, you have to sell them. And, just because your project gets approved and all of a sudden you can't sell them and your second part B is to rent them, that's not good for the borough, because the turnover is going to be greater than it's going to be if you were to sell a unit. That's just my 2 cents, and you might want to bring that back because it is listed for sale, and it has a big sign out there saying special financing. So I think we really have to take a good look at that. I appreciate that. On resolution 2023 233, the first aid equipment that we're purchasing, is that the piece of equipment that's going to be used to fill their bottles?
No,
No? What
that is the power cut, if I'm not mistaken.
what is that?
Power cut.
Was that something that was in the budget?
Yeah.
Okay. And 234, declare an emergency regarding the needed replacement of a main supply well motor at the water plant on Perry Street.
Sure. This is an emergency that happened. It was right in the transition between administrators. So we had to declare emergencies if there is an emergency. So how it should work is that you do a resolution and it backs up the purchases that you make. What happened was the motor failed at the plant. So we had to get it worked on immediately.
Was, the water plant that we spent $5 million on, so maybe is this warranted?
As far as I know, it was not a warranty-able item.
Because it's not that old, that the improvements on that water, there's a lot of money we spent.
I thought it was electrical. It was an electrical issue.
Okay. The last item is resolution 238 on the extension of the lease agreement.
John, that's actually going to be tabled.
Okay.
We have to go into executive session.
Okay,
on that one.
thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Merlo, we can't get off that easy. What about your new wink? You gonna tell everybody about the new wink?
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Jim Bishop, 90 Division Street, Keyport. I'm here in reference to 2 issues with the fire department. I'm not here representing the fire department. The chief knows I'm here tonight. It's a question for the administrator that you're not going to be able to answer tonight. You're going to have to look into it. We voted 2 meetings ago at the department meeting to switch our hats, our uniform hats, from the police style to the stovetop they call them, like New York City wears. We were told somebody don't want to pay for it. One company says I shouldn't pay for it. Anyway, it passed. Now we're to the money issue. So at the money issue, people at the meeting say, hey, the borough gives each member a stipend in the fire department. They call it, we were told it's called a uniform allowance. That member doesn't ever see that money, it goes right to their company. So we say, well, if that's our money, because you would not be getting that money if I wasn't a member of that company. The company should be able to use that money, to buy that $60 hat. I mean, some people exaggerated the number of hats that they needed. I'd like to see those people on a call. I don't know where they're at, but that's another story. So the chiefs were supposed to get in touch with you, and the leadership in the fire department except for Ed Lewandowski. I can't say enough about him because he's not about having a new car. Ed's about doing what he can for everybody. They were supposed to get in touch with you. I know nobody did because I talked to the chief tonight. They're afraid. They said they're going to open Pandora's box up. I said, what box are you opening up? It's our money. So if that money he needs to know, or you don't have to report it back to me, you need to report it to him, that money that we get as each member goes to our company can be used to buy a hat. Okay?
I can get in touch with the chief.
All right, well, that's one. Number two, and I've talked to Rose about this many times, and, not on an official note, but just in conversation. Eagle Hose has a new truck coming. It should be here, we're hoping the end of September. $700,000, this truck is almost, just about. We need a new radio for the truck. I've been telling these chiefs that these trucks in this town, the radios in these trucks were used when we got them. They're over 25 years old, the radios. There's the guys that are going into the buildings, the portable radios, they're used. Some of them don't, some of them have bad batteries. Guys get on the truck. And this is a chief's issue, don't get me wrong. But I'm a firefighter, and when I take that truck to a call, I'm responsible for every guy on there and every guy that gets off that truck. He goes in that high-rise building, he can't make communication, that's my problem, because I let him off that truck with that piece of equipment. Nobody seems to want to come here and ask for, the equipment. I understand the borough's strapped for money, I know, but we got to start somewhere here, And they're the guys that should be here asking. Everybody's worried about this consolidation. You can put all those trucks in one house all you want, but it's only Lincoln and Eagle that's going to show back up at that house to take that to the call. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, I don't know how it works, but we need to find. It's like $8,000 to buy a radio for this truck, and the radio doesn't come overnight. I asked why it wasn't put in the thing when they ordered the truck. It's because the manufacturer that makes the truck does not get involved with any radio communications, and it comes out of Florida. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't have moved forward in a different direction. I can't change what happened a year and a half, 2 years ago. I'm here as the engineer of that company. And again, Eagle Hose did not send me here tonight, but I'm here to make things better, So, if you just look
I
into
believe that I can sit with the liaisons and the chief and the assistant chief, and we can discuss those items.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mike?
Mike Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. I just want to add to what John Merlin said about the units at the intersection of First and Walnut. I encourage every member of council to drive down there and drive through the back of those units. And I think it'll be very obvious to you why they can't sell them. There is zero recreation space. There's literally no place to eat outside, to have a barbecue, to have your kids out. None. Zero. In addition, all the garages empty onto a very narrow area with this all marked fire lanes, cannot park. There's no parking for visitors. We worked very hard on the master plan, bulk variances, and one of the key things that's built into those ordinances is to have recreation space associated with every dwelling unit. And there's a recreation space calculation for single family, there's two family, and for multifamily. None of that was followed. And I think members of the planning board should also go down and look at what resulted. It's really bad. In addition, the one thing, thank God we got fixed. Excuse me. When you go inside behind the units, you'll see all the garage doors. The original plan had all of those garage doors facing First Street. We got that blocked because cars would be blocking the sight triangles on entrance to First Street, thank goodness. Just imagine if the original plan had all those garage doors lined up on First Street. So I urge you to go down and look at that site. And somehow we've got to get to the point where the requirements in the master and in the bulk variances are religiously enforced. Now, relative to resolutions, you have 3 resolutions updating budget items. Resolution 2022-213 for Clean Communities Grant, 2023-214 for stormwater assessments, and 2023-215 Office of Aging money. Is there a reason that this information wasn't available when the budget was adopted last month?
I can.
Mr. Lane, it's Kim. What happens is the budget gets sent down to the state for approval. We didn't have the grant numbers, but when it was going down to the state, so we weren't able to insert it until we introduced copy. So that's why we're doing it now at this time. This should actually happen throughout the year, that you do Chapter 159 resolutions, inserting any grant awards in the budget. So this is not going to be the last time that you see something like this.
Okay, because I don't remember this
This is the
before.
way it should be done each time, right?
Yeah, this is the way it should be done. That's where, honestly, Councilwoman McNamara didn't tell us about one of the recreation grants. We wouldn't have known, and that's why we actually did a 159 towards the end of the year. We had to accept that to even be able to create the appropriation and have it approved by the state.
Thank you for that insight. Resolution 2023-216, having to refund of $15 for a CO. I'm sorry, $150, $155 for a CO. And then resolution 2023-217, refund for a pool fill permit fee of $15. We're doing I assume we charge these fees to cover the administrative costs of our staff to handle all the paperwork, approvals, etc. I can understand on the CO where Mr. Vecchio goes out and does the inspection and giving back the funds for the inspection expense that were not executed. But why should we give back funds for the staff work?
Mike Kim will answer you on that.
The attorney and I have been sitting to review the fee structure of this fee ordinance for the town. We need to create a structure where we do have an administrative fee. So at this time, we would have to reimburse the full amount.
All right. So we need to move forward on that.
Agreed.
And that's what we're doing.
Because we charge fees to cover the work the staff's going to do. And if they do the work and the applicant withdraws, that's their problem, not ours. But that sounds good. Regarding resolution Community Development Block Grant. So that's for the gazebo, resolution 2023-19. Is that the gazebo grant? Yes. Oh, okay, thank you. Resolution 2023-236, supporting New Jersey Assembly bill to increase funding for the municipal energy tax receipt aid, property tax relief. I mean, how much are we talking about and who does the money go to?
So each town that has some type of energy use going through it, whether JCP&L, any type of utility going through it, you're supposed to get an energy tax receipt amount from that utility.
That's residents and businesses.
It's for any time they use it. It's like a host fee. And towns used to get that money directly from the JCP&Ls of the world and the PSE&Gs. And probably over a decade ago, the state decided to take that money entirely from the municipalities and hold it in their pockets first, and then maybe distribute some of it back. And that's what they're presently doing. This year's budget does include giving some of that money back, but not all of it. So the municipalities are asserting that, you know what, that was always intended to be our money. It wasn't for you to decide when or what you're going to distribute.
You know, and honestly, as you all know, like, it was an issue that was heavily contested in the last few hours of the budget process. That was what was on the table to trade votes. So there's been an effort to stop that use of that money that was supposed to be used for municipalities so they could offset the cost of, like, for instance, if there's like a solar field put in one of your towns, you're no longer, you're not generating tax revenue from that, like the utmost tax revenue that you could. So it was supposed to be intended to kind of defray that cost for towns by giving you that money, and you're not getting it anymore. So towns across the state, well, I guess I'm assuming every municipality, even if it's from $1,000 supposed to give her millions of dollars, are asking the state to give that money back to them and return it entirely and not use it like to get a budget passed. The other issue is, this is the employee health care prescription cost, as Councilwoman McNamara noted. It was supposed to be in the budget. There was money supposed to be set aside to give some type of relief to towns like Keyport that were in the state health benefits plan and find itself in a bigger hole now because insurance costs went up over 20%. And that again was not given to the towns. So towns across the state right now are saying, how much more can we take? And resolutions like this are being adopted everywhere. I get them in my inbox pretty much. I got one yesterday when I got back from my vacation. I saw a few of these resolutions coming in my inbox in my assembly office. So there's been a big movement across the state by the municipalities to say to the state, we will, number one, we want our energy tax receipt money back because you guys should never have been taking that for years and not giving it to us. And number two, you guys kind of put us in a bad spot with the state health benefit plans because they kind of directed towns to go there and kind of and said it was going to save them money, and then lo and behold, towns are waking up now having to find millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever their budget is, significant dollars to try to close that gap, to provide health insurance to their members, to their employees. So that's what that bill's about.
All right, relative to this energy, I'm familiar with the issue from when I was involved in Colts Neck.
Mm-hmm.
In Colts Neck, we have huge high voltage power lines coming through the town.
So they lost a lot of money.
And they provided, when I was involved, a huge amount of money for the borough budget. But relative to Keyport, I mean, even Union Beach has a power transmission facility that heads south down along the Henry Hudson Trail, but we don't have any signal. So this.
But the towns are working together as a unit. They're not picking and choosing which resolution they're going to support. It's a one size like kind of fits all. It's like the 1-2 punch municipalities got out of this budget with having no relief from the municipality. So yes, like Little Silver, I think, passed this resolution. And I don't think they get a lot of money on energy tax receipt.
No, I'm just trying to council realize this is not going to bring a lot of money to Keyport compared to Colts Neck.
I mean, whatever it is, wouldn't we want it though? I mean, whatever it is that we could get, shouldn't we apply for it?
We're not in Colts Neck.
It's been, almost 14 years since we've seen
Yeah,
things
so why
being
not?
really impacted.
As long as it's not going to raise my expenses for my electric service. And are we sure that's not going to happen?
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the money that the electric people used to pay Colts Neck,
Right.
Homedale, Keyport, Little Silver. They used to pay them. Now they pay the state, and the state holds it in their pocket.
Right, but they have to charge an expense for my electric service in order to the utility companies to generate the
They're
money.
still charging that money. It's going to the state. And the point of this resolution is that the municipalities are getting together as a unit to say we want our money back. Because in these two distinct ways, you're requiring us to raise taxes on the local level. So you have in one breath people saying at the state level they're cutting taxes, but these are two particular items in which could be used to provide property tax relief to residents that cannot be provided because they're being borne by the local taxpayer.
All right, so I'm not looking forward to a big impact on my tax levy, over $10,000. Relative to Resolution 2023-237, which had to do with the New Jersey Senate bill for funding the parents and prevention of funds, what level of funding do we expect from that? This was the debt elimination and prevention. Do we have any insight at all as to whether we'll get any money for Keyport?
Again, this is a way to provide relief to the local municipalities. This is a bill that's intended to provide that type of relief to municipalities so that they can address these extraordinary increases in costs that they are dealing with. And these are the type of bills, Mr. Lane, that the League of Municipalities reaches out to its mayor and council and for support. And this is one of that.
I'm just trying to understand whether the council has any concept of whether we're talking $50, $1,000, $100,000.
The Senate bill is 2.35 billion.
Not for
So,
Keyport. I'm
I
talking
know,
about.
but, I mean, it's still something, and they're gonna give us something from it if it passes through.
But we don't know what it is.
No, you don't know, but I mean, whatever you're gonna get, I mean, take it. Why would we not take it?
Well,
Mike, I'm
I
not-
like the concept.
Mike, I don't wanna cut you off, but I mean, it's been about 15 minutes, and I usually don't cut you off, I let you continue, but it is a 15-minute, so, I mean, it is 5 minutes.
I don't. You canceled you canceled 2 of the 4 meetings a month. So you ought to increase the 5 minutes
I
to
don't
10
have to
minutes.
increase the 5 minutes, so we're gonna keep it at the 5 minutes. We've given you over 15 minutes, so I'm gonna ask you to sit down now. Anybody else? Colette?
Clyde Kennedy, 421 Atlantic Street. I was being good. I wasn't going to come up here. I didn't even raise my hand. But 4 of you were on the governing body last year, and the same resolutions were passed and sent to the Assembly regarding both of these topics that keep getting asked about. One is about the energy tax relief. That's been an ongoing topic. The mayors across New Jersey for several years have been fighting to get that money back into municipal budgets. As the finance chair last year, Mayor, you're well aware of the situation with the health benefit increase as well.
And it's
So-
gonna increase again next year.
Correct. So all of these topics are not new. They're just, as we all know, bureaucracy takes a long time. So sometimes you have to repeat things again, and again. So I'm just letting everyone in the room know these aren't new topics, Mr. Lane. We did the same exact things last year. You can pull them up on the agenda.
Thank you. Anybody else? Do you have a motion to close to the public?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. Do you have any questions from the governing body on anything for the consent agenda, any of the resolutions? Oh, all in favor?
Mayor, I have one quick question. So it's regarding Resolution 229, the KBBC events. So I know Councilmember Demers just mentioned a couple of things are changing. Is anything that's happening in the KBBC going to affect any of the upcoming events? And then particularly the car show in September. I know we received an email regarding the tides and the flood, the tides at that time. Has that been addressed, or do we know if the car show is going to be affected by that?
The application said that they were only using the parking lot, the Fireman's Park, for 1 hour for unloading, and it's not when there's high tide. So I don't think that would affect.
So it's not the same time, so they're not loading in at the same time the high tide is?
Right. The tides were early in the morning and in the evening. They were only using it for like, I think they wanted the lot closed from 2 to 4. It was all squeezed in really little in there. But.
Okay.
I guess my concern with that, though, is if West Front is closed and American Legion Drive floods, do we have a way for people to navigate the area?
Chief, can you answer that?
So I think we had met briefly with KBBC. I thought they had elected to change the date. I believe. I mean, I have to get an update, but they felt the flooding issue was gonna be an issue too. That was from
I'm gonna ask Melissa. Melissa, what is the date, the revised date?
There was no meeting last month, but there's 3 other dates that are being looked at, so this should.
So it is gonna probably
Yeah.
change the date,
So
so that should be tabled out.
That is an issue.
Right, exactly.
You also didn't want it with the farmer's market too, right? You said that would be too much
I just,
for that lot?
for the car show,
Yeah.
yes, we can't keep the farmer's market in the front and then
Add that
build
in the back.
the, but they took that into consideration.
We're actually looking at it Friday.
Thank you. Okay, do you have anything on the consent agenda, resolutions? Any questions? No? Okay, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2023-211 through 2023-237 with a table for 2023-229, and we're going to pull 2023-238. All in favor?
Aye.
That's a roll call.
Yeah.
Councilmember Demarest.
Yes.
Councilmember Riley.
Yes.
Councilmember Vecchio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
And Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we have reports, the municipal clerk's reports for June 2023, tax, water, sewer collectors report for June 2023, Board of Health treasurer's report June 2023, building department report for June 2023, and municipal court report for June 2023. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Days updates. Chief, do you have anything?
Yeah,
I think
we kind of combined them, so
Okay,
that would be
then that's
quicker.
fine. Michelle, do you have anything?
No, Mayor, did we skip the minutes for approval?
Oh, yes, we did. Okay. We'll go back to that one.
Okay.
We'll go back. Thank you.
No updates.
Okay. Hey, Joe Rafferty. Joe is actually our, with Colliers, who's going to be our borough engineer. And we will have that on a resolution for August.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Make sure this mic's close enough. Evening, everybody. I'd just like to give an update on active projects through the end of June 2023. Some updates as I've been getting to know all the players in this wonderful borough. So New Jersey Natural Gas Church Street line replacement. As most of you probably know, there was a new service line placed along Church Street. I talked with our New Jersey Natural Gas rep, Xavier, who is saying that they were having some trouble coordinating their sub-consultant who will be conducting the paving operations for that project. So that's expected now in August. I know previously it was hoped that it would happen this month, but we're looking at early August. And if there's any updates on that, I'll relay that to Mayor, Council, and to the Borough Administrator. Municipal building water damage. This was a project that was started by CME. They brought in Centembrino Architects to look at the actual as-built of any of the damage. And I believe my office is still waiting on the report. I don't know if the borough has gotten anything. So at this time, that is still status quo. For the stormwater management compliance, that's an annual report that we do for the NJDEP to stay in compliance. It's typically due very early May of every year. We submitted that on time. I do know that there is a grant that is on tonight's resolution to obtain $25,000 in funding towards providing more additional information as it becomes a larger requirement as NJDEP is growing more into the GIS world. I know that there's already some ordinances that they're looking at updating. So there's no further work from my office at this time. Now these are active projects that are being handled by CME as a carryover. So Trevor, who was here last week, I connected with him today. So the NJDOT TAP grant, that's typically a very long design duration, and it's great to read that this is going to be actually completed in fall 2023. So at that time, the project will go out to bid. Depending on the lead time, I'm dealing with some TAP grants myself. It is a long process, so we'll provide updates as they become available. That is for pedestrian improvements along First Street, West Front Street, and Broadway. That has to go out to bid through the Brooks Act, so there's a whole process there. Some of the more simple projects, if you will, NJDOT local aid projects. Church Street, Lucas Brothers is substantially complete. The DOT has submitted their punch list, and the open items are being addressed. The expectation is for final closeout in summer of 2023. CDBG Broad Street Sidewalk Project. Espatata is the contractor. They are also substantially complete. The overhead signs are to be installed in the summer of 2023. Now that school is out, project closeout again, summer 2023. NJDOT improvements to Butler and East 3rd Street. Lucas Brothers was awarded the project and construction is ongoing. I was told today that the water main work was completed, so they're looking to go to the next step on that project. They're hopeful that that project will be completed by the end of this year. Improvements to Fulton 7th and 8th Street. S Brothers has this project, not Espatata. All work is complete with the exception of the surface paving course, which is expected in late August 2023. But then we will have project closeout on that project. And with that, that's all active projects. I'll have an update next month, hopefully with good news from New Jersey Natural Gas. And anything in the interim, I'll relay to Mayor Council.
Thank you. Okay. Minutes for approval. Do we have a motion?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. What's the status on the curb ramps on Broad Street / Main Street?
Do you know anything on that yet?
Well, Broad Street's county road. I know that typically that it should be on the county paving schedule. It's something that we can coordinate. Sometimes when dealing with Monmouth County, the ADA ramps would have to be a borough project. I believe we just have to coordinate and see where the borough is having that project in their queue and coordinate with them on how best. In some cases, the county will do, if there's a drainage issue specifically, they will do improvements. I know they've done that for other clients.
Well, we have several new curb ramps that flood.
So they're new curb ramps, forgive me, I've only been here three.
I mean, that's in addition to the ones that weren't done
at
the time of the paving.
Existing curb ramps that are very steep that I've seen, those are going to be needed to be repaired. The new ones, and I've taken a lot of classes on ADA, I understand the frustrations. The landing area has to be 0.5% in one direction and less than 2% in the other direction. So if there's ponding, but it's gone within 24 hours, we've been told by people at ProAd and ADA that that's acceptable because the curb ramps are really here to provide access for people in wheelchairs. It's not about us in
Right, but they're not supposed to hold water either. But in addition to that,
do they hold more than in 24 hours as the water goes?
many of them retain water for days.
For days, okay.
For days.
Well, we can monitor that.
And we shouldn't be building curb ramps with landings at the bottom.
That is something that we try to avoid. What I like to do is typically have the curb ramp come up at a 7.5% and then have your landing where you have your 4x4 or 5x5 turning area come into that. That's a type 1. That's ideal because now you're keeping the water and you get a 2-inch lift.
Yeah, I mean, this is really a question of the borough. What's the council going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? It's been a problem for years, and it's going to continue unless we take action.
Kim, can you work with him on the areas, the certain curb ramps that are happening?
So, it's about project management, right? And plans and making sure it's done correctly and inspection.
I'm asking the council what they're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. It's not that hard. It just needs to be done.
Okay, the
You
council
put it in the
really,
count.
but we've talked about, the council does not engage in the construction part of the role in the town. They rely
I'm not asking them to engage in the construction
You are
part.
asking them,
I'm asking
what are
them,
they gonna do about it?
Yes.
So
I'm
that's-
excuse me.
We're gonna work with our business
I'm asking,
Wait, Andrew, we're gonna have our business administrator work with our engineer on this, and we will find a solution that's for everybody. So they will work on it, and that is for the council. You know, we all are the same way. We're looking at the same thing you're looking at. It's not like that we're not.
It's been going on for years.
Okay.
You know what I
So
mean?
we are gonna work on it.
So
And
if
that
it
is
needs to
one
be
of
in the contracts, change the contracts. If it needs to be an ordinance that specifies what should be done, then that's what should be done. I mean, I've been up here for, I don't know, 10, 12 months about these same curb ramps. And now we keep getting new engineers. I mean, like, what's going on?
Well, I wanted to find the right engineer for us, and he is the right engineer for us. He knows the terminology, he knows everything that's happening.
Okay.
And he is the one that we're gonna be working with.
So
Okay.
if there are specific curb ramps and they fall within the CDBG area, I know that that there's already a session going in place, but there are smaller grant programs where it's not just DOT, but especially something that's gonna benefit if the county's gonna come in and pave in 2-3 years. They typically in Monmouth County don't do curb ramps. Union County, they do curb ramps. So we can look at, proactively looking at improvements of the ADA compliance that would be low cost to the borough, that could be supplementing a county road project. That would be the goal.
Also to cut in, that's where the mayor had brought up that we're looking to do the future road program, right? So when we do that, we will also address the curb ramps that need to be done as part of that capital program.
No, I understand that's how it happens. When you pave the roads, you do the curb ramps. I'm talking about new projects with new curb ramps that are terrible. And projects that were done that the curb ramps weren't done.
Right.
And we
so-
know to comply with the ADA, they need to be done.
I agree with you. What happens is your engineer goes out, they inspect, administration, DPW, and you have to address these items while they are being done, right? While the project is happening.
I'm
That's
talking
what
about a
you've done.
project that just happened.
And
I'm
we
asking-
are still looking into, we
Okay,
are.
all right, that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's, Joe doesn't know about that because Joe is
I know,
here, but
I
yeah,
wanna make
yeah,
sure
yeah, poor Joe.
he's,
No.
He's up- he's up to
And-
speed.
And don't
Yeah.
forget, if half of these projects look like they're still active with DOT.
They are.
Okay.
They will inspect. They're
Yeah.
going to inspect this. I got flagged on a project, contractor did it, 7 months later, they were gone during COVID, they're back. So if there's issues with the ADA, the DOT will flag it.
Okay.
They'll become a punch list
I-
item, the contractor will take care of it, and that's the.
I know the flooding issue on the new ramps, they don't know it's there, and they stamp it, so. I mean, that's like a thing they don't see unless it's raining.
They'll send,
When they
yeah,
inspect.
they actually do, they send out inspectors.
When
And
it
it might be
rains?
months, oh yeah, it might
Okay.
be months after that project
Okay.
is closed out.
And that's also
All right.
why we have a 2-year maintenance bond on all projects that
Okay.
goes out. That's typically a rule of thumb where they hold back 15% of the construction fee for 2 years.
Okay. All right. Moving on from the curb ramps. First Street, townhouses, the sidewalk, and the lampposts. Is there anything moving on with that?
Yeah, Kim, I'd like to have that looked at too, because the sidewalks are really bad.
They're bad.
And we talking about the
she's aware.
pavers, yeah.
Well, not just the pavers,
And
the lampposts that are gone,
Yeah.
and then
The
there's that
lampposts are
one
on water.
spot where it's sunken down, and it goes with water.
Yeah, that's something that Joe and I will be working on.
Okay.
It is on the list, and the lampposts are ordered, so we
Okay.
just have to wait for them to come in.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, John?
John Morello, 34 Broad Street. Just a follow-up to Mr. Kelsey's comments regarding, I know he said 10, 12 months. I've been coming here 10, 12 years talking about it. And I'll be honest with you, here's my problem. In order to comply with ADA, you're creating a hazard for people that don't fall under ADA. And when I say that is the leaves fall. They find a way to low gravity, lowest point, it rains, they stick. Anybody with a wheelchair, I think it's more of a hazard than it is a help. Water retains, water freezes, water cracks sidewalks, it finds its hole, and it makes a mess. And I even used to say, I would fully oppose those type of things being done in the borough because I think they create more of an unsafe environment than a safe environment for those that are handicapped. And believe me, we've had people come to the council meetings years ago that were handicap accessible, they needed handicap spots and stuff like that, and I can understand that, I really can. But I tell you the truth, living in Keyport all my life, I have very, very seldom seen someone walking someone down the street, pushing them in a wheelchair. I know it's done, but I have never seen it personally, and especially in the winter. I just know it creates more of a hazard, I think, and there is a lot of times where I do agree with them. The water's days, because it has nowhere to go. It's the low point, it's flooding, and this is why I'm really up here now, is because last meeting I brought up about Broad Street, and I said 79 Broad Street. The county was out there during the paving project, and it's today, honestly, is the worst I've ever seen it since I lived here. The water was almost inside Fast Copy's door, and I wasn't there till later, but I watched the video. The property that I was talking about, 79, it's gonna sink. And honestly, the engineer needs to come back out. They need to look at that area. You catch water on that county road from 5 different places, and then it drains to Division Street, which was underwater also. I know we have stormwater problems in town, and we've had them for years. It's nothing new. We're a water town, as Councilman Demas has said, flooding, high tides, but a lot of these streets are new construction where new basins were put in, new pipes were put in, everything was done right, and the water is still not flowing like it should. And today, today was like a rain. I know it was a little heavy, but there was a foot of water, and it was like a tunnel, and that pavers in 79 Broad Street have never been that. It's almost to the point now it's a tripping hazard, and it was all taking up to fix a pipe and put back. But I think that's a concern. I think the borough should, before we accept that project in its entirety and close it out on Broad Street, I think the engineering, and that's why I brought it up at the last meeting, to see if the county was going to come out and look at that one more time before we accept it.
Joe, can you work with Kim on that, because it is important,
We've already contacted the county as well.
Thank you.
Yes, but we will continue to follow her.
Okay. And the other thing I had was the skipper, the senior bus. Do they leave Keyport? We did I'll tell you, we did a little thing Saturday at the Oyster Bay. And what we did was it was share day, so we got a grill and we cooked for the people, and we did some sharing, and a local church came in from Madeline. And some of the residents in there that don't drive no more wanted to see if there was a possibility, even if it was once a month, that they could be bused to the Madeline school to go to church. And I didn't know the legalities. I don't know. I know they leave Keyport to go shopping and other things, but I wasn't sure how. No, they don't?
Yeah, it doesn't. And
No, all stops are in Keyport.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can it not go?
What?
Can it not go?
I don't.
I don't know, you'd
I
have
don't
to
know.
find out.
That's-
We have an agreement, so I.
Wait, Colette wants to answer. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
No, Masha, are we going to be done? I'm giving you information.
Colette?
Mayor, sir, while we're waiting for Ms. Kennedy to speak, can I just make for a comment for the weather we had today? As we all know, it was serious, I think we had 3 or 4 high-intensity, short-duration rainstorms, which is not the norm for our regular weather pattern. So I know we're getting more of them, but just as a matter of record, when people referring to the weather today and the massive flooding that we saw throughout town, I would just like it to be put on record that the weather we saw today was not the typical the rain that came down, where I live, I had water that came up to my front step, which I've never seen before. So it's not the typical rain, it's not a normal rainy day where we get basic flooding. It was a little extraordinary today, so I just wanted that to be noted.
Even the towns next to us were flooded in spots that never have flooding in Mattawan, Hazlet.
Highways.
Thank you. Sorry, Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you.
Sorry for everything. In regards to that, I don't know what I should start with first, the flooding, the storm drain, or the skipper bus. But we'll go with the skipper bus first. There was extensive surveys done from the residents before the application was put forward to the NJDOT for the grant application for that. And it was, sorry. So I take the plus you back, I guess, I don't know. But, so the primary result of that committee, which I was not on, but came on at the end of it when they were coming up with the stop and the locations, was that it was to stay within the boundaries of Keyport, since it was Keyport taxpayers paying for it, and that bus was applied for originally when the SCAT bus from Monmouth County that does take people to other locations stopped providing service for a while in Keyport. So it was to help our, it was also put in for helping our economic development to have a way to bring our seniors down to the downtown business district. And then on Sundays it went to all of the houses of worship within Keyport, which at the time were 11 of them. And they also include the stop at the parking lot at the end of Atlantic and South Main, but they didn't go to the church. That way they just crossed the street because the parking lot is within the boundaries of Keyport. So St. John's, so just in case someone says, but they went to the Hazlet church, they didn't technically go to Hazlet. They dropped them off in the parking lot across the street in Keyport for St. John's if they wanted to go there when the Sunday route was going. Obviously during the pandemic, the whole skipper bus was shut down, and we went from, I think, 4 drivers down to 1 driver who only drives it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But I do believe that according to the grant, it also has to be a borough employee that has to go through some kind of training out of that. All that's within the grant. I'm sure you have that somewhere. So this wasn't the time I was going to come to speak, but since I'm up here, hopefully that doesn't take part of my couple minutes.
It should.
I was answering a question that they couldn't. But I welcome to Keyport as the engineer. And hopefully when you get settled in, we'll be able to provide you information about the storm drain that's collapsed on South Main Street. So when we have heavy rains like today, I've already made accommodations where I have to go to shower tomorrow because I can't shower tomorrow, but now that the heavy rains came in because of the sewer line collapsed.
You had somebody go out from DPW today, right, at your street?
Yeah, I did. We pulled the main. The main was flowing with no obstructions. It had a normal flow. So I'm not sure what else at this point we could do with them being that there was normal flow.
Yeah.
Did you back up today?
No, because I had already, unfortunately, actually, people in the room actually called me today to see how I was doing with that. I had already showered, so it's only now if any water tries to come out of the residences after such an extreme tide, or the Board of Ed office, or Bethany Manor, or anything on the whole south side of town.
Yeah, that was the reason that today when we had that storm, it was good for
It was flowing.
DPW. I called them
You get shut up because you curve things.
to see what was actually happening.
I'm sorry.
I mean, they have pulled it. It's, 8-year history of they pull all the records from the BRSA. And every single time that it's backed up, it's due to rainwater.
Which is the reason that today is like a heavy storm.
So we can't figure it out, but we just know it always happens whenever it rains, because clearly I do laundry and shower often. If it's not raining, we're all fine. So I think there was something else, but I'll come back up.
Thank you. Anybody else? George?
George Baldwin, 54 2nd Street. On the agenda, Mayor, it says public comment portion. There's no limit of time on that. If you go to the back page where we're speaking now, there's 5 minutes. So I think Mr. Lane talking for 15, 20, 25, 30.
It should be on there.
Well, it's
Yeah,
not.
thank you.
And I'd like to see 10 minutes rather than 5, as Mr. Lane pointed out also.
Well, I think that I've been giving people more than 5 minutes anyway, and they've been, I might have 15 minutes.
Yeah, but, you know, again,
I know,
we
I
can't,
know.
we
So-
can't stray, that we can't have a
I
person
know,
come up here
I
and
agree.
talk and then say, don't take that against my 5 minutes.
No, that's why I've been
Okay.
given even longer than 5 minutes. Everybody's been pretty much.
Greatly appreciated. The project on Church Street, that's not closed out yet, right?
The New Jersey Natural Gas one? I'm sorry.
No, the street itself, paving,
No,
curbs.
that is final closeout anticipated summer 2023.
Okay, you might want to take a look at the parking lot that they paved. There's a lot of water settlement in there. It takes a couple of days for them to get out of there. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. Anybody else? Mike?
Mike Lane, 51 First Street. It was great that you mentioned that we need to get the BDA process going again, Brownsville Development Area, because that has the potential to bring a significant amount of money into town. I'm not sure you've looked at the original charter on the BDA, but you cannot dismiss any members that are residents of Keyport that were appointed to the BDA. They can only resign, and you can replace residents who've moved out of town.
Okay.
So,
Can we pull that to see who was on it prior?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mike, were you on it prior?
yes, ma'am.
Okay, 'cause we
Michelle
were
and I
appointing
were
you
on
now.
Pardon?
We were gonna ask you anyway, so since you're on it.
I have a binder
Okay.
that has all the agenda and meeting notes, etc. Secondly is the issue with resolution we need to work the Henry Hudson Trail floodway. Nuisance flooding is a real issue in Keyport. And the Capucci's, the gas station on Broad Street was a BDA project.
Yes, it is.
And we really need to clean that up.
Yeah, that's on
Takes a lot away from the borough. The other is that in terms of planning, the post office contract is going to be up in the not too distant future in terms of time to implement things. The redevelopment committee really needs to look at the post office project.
Yeah, that's on one of our workshops that we're gonna have between now and December.
Great. The other is engineer, utility poles along First Street and Prospect all over town with all the cables hanging off of them. Any progress on cleanup?
That was me.
Kim?
But, yeah, that was me.
No,
Yeah, I contacted the utility companies and we keep contacting them.
And Mr. Walling actually had, sent you a picture of one of them, but was that an electric one?
That was cable and a ticket. I just put in a ticket. We put in a ticket for it.
I walked with one of the council people down First Street. I didn't figure who it was.
It was Denny.
It was me.
Oh,
Which Mr. Lana had a very nice walk.
I walked with you too.
We all
And
did.
Denny did too.
And in the first 3 blocks of Keyport, there's a half dozen poles wrapped with 7 or 8 cables per pole.
It's unfortunate that these cable companies will not, do anything. We're actually gonna reach out to somebody a little bit higher than just a cable company.
And it doesn't hurt for the residents to actually put in complaints. They can do a BPU complaint. It does help us when we make our phone calls. It really, yeah.
You might post that on the borough website.
No, I can't post to have people complain, but
There's your job.
Yeah, there you go.
You can email us.
And one thing, can I get excited about we're going to pave First Street and crosswalks and
I'd love to.
This year?
This year, I'd have to coordinate with Kim on budget and all that.
No?
No, probably not this year.
You know when we got the grant? How many
But
years?
it's a very long process with these grants. They do take years, unfortunately. There's classes that we have to go to. It's burden. It'll happen. So we should be able to, by the end of the year, be able to go out for bid, getting ready to go out for bid.
Because my perception was that we got our engineer's fees covered by the fact that our engineer was qualified to deal with the grant.
Yep.
And Trevor has done a lot of work.
Yes, yeah, they're in the middle of design.
So it's still not gonna happen this year.
Design will be done this year.
Well, I'll just share with you, it's one of my personal objectives to be able to cross the street in front of my house. Right now, I
We'll do like a ribbon cutting.
I can't cross the
Right?
street in front of my house.
We're gonna let you run with the scissors.
So it is a really personal issue. because
I
of
understand.
CSIP executed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Melissa?
Melissa O'Connell, 7981 Broad Street. So, new guy. The water that John was talking about, it didn't make it into fast copy, but it went right in my front door today. I know there was a sinkhole last year that opened up in that sidewalk. I've been getting water in my basement. Granted, there was a lot of rain for the record, but I've never, ever had it come right through my front door at the store. There is, wherever they dug out to fix whatever the hell they fixed down there, the ground is actually mushy, it's all puddling, it's completely different, and I took tons of videos in between mopping today.
Okay, we can coordinate with the county on that.
Thank you. Mike?
Yeah, my understanding is that the stormwater pipe actually flows underneath the buildings.
Correct.
And it's probably a big issue, whether that pipe is solid.
Yeah, it might be something worth investigating, televising with the shared service. with
They
county.
said they were coming back to do it a year ago.
Arnold
said he'd be back soon.
Okay. Do we have anybody else? Motion to close to the public?
Okay.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're gonna go into executive session. Vicki, you want to
Good afternoon.
I did not walk, I did not walk, I didn't borrow my pen, thank you, sir. Thank you
Mayor, we could do a resolution to go to closed session? Resolution for closed session? I don't see the list move.
100%. What you talked about, I agree with you. And I think the best way to do this is to stay on it. Just do what you're doing, just constantly, that's what I mean. Because listen, I'm an athlete. I think the basketball courts right here are atrocious. They let them go to crap the last 10 years. I drive the mayor, I drive the BA nuts about these basketball courts for grants, money, whatever. So I just learned you gotta stay on it. And unfortunately, in a town like this, so small, but yet everybody, you have to stay on top. So, and you're doing the right thing.
Especially you two.
You're doing the right thing. This is the chief of police right here, but you're doing the right thing. Keep doing
For the
it.
agenda.
What do you believe?
They're going into closed session. They gotta do a resolution.
No, it was high velocity, mortgage all work.
Not yet. They have to do the resolution.
Right thing, then, where's the motion?
Motion.
All the parents have to look at it.
Aye. We're in closed.